Good evening, everyone. I'm Ekta Chaktani, the student editor of Bombay Technologist Research Journal, and feel honored to have gotten the opportunity to interview Professor Bhaskar Thorat, sir, for our Bombay Technologist Journal. Sir, on behalf of the whole BT community, I wholeheartedly welcome you for this interview and would like to start. Sir, what motivated you to become a professor at ICT? Did you always want to become a professor?
Not at all. Uh, the job of a professor or a teacher was not I was born to be a professor or a teacher. I was born with the entrepreneurship qualities. At the age of 5, I developed something in my village and I sold that piece of innovations at 15 paisa in the annual jatra. No, there's an annual pilgrim normally which takes place in my village, and after that I realized that I have a good eyes, good sense of smell, good ears, and good understanding of the nature because I was born in the nature and I lived my earlier life in the nature, very close to nature, living with the dogs and cattle and living under the open sky. So that was my beginning. Today, people like to go and spend the holidays that way, but we were born that way. I stayed in the hostel, and hostel is the mecca of leadership, and the leadership quality was already in me. So I became a mess secretary, I became a GS, I became a sports secretary, and I started working on building on my strength as a leadership. So I learned the leadership qualities in the hostel, running a few of the responsible positions. But after I graduated, I got a job, but it wasn't basically an interesting job. So I decided to do a master's. I finished my master's with very flying colors, probably one of the best period of my life. In those 2 years of doing masters with one of the professors, his name is Anurag Mehra, eventually shifted to Mumbai IIT. And he gave me the confidence. He gave me the working with him, gave me a lot of opportunity to solve the problem, particularly the theoretical problems, the mathematical problems, the computer related problems, the modeling related problems, the simulator related problems. And I got into the master's thesis only for the fear that I want to get over the computers. Because computer is something which I wanted to learn it. Only for learning, I joined with a person who was a theoretician. And I did that very successfully. And then after that, after such a wonderful work, I was offered a number of places a job. So basically, I was geared up for as an industrialist. I could have become an industrialist. After doing masters, I joined National Chemical Laboratories as a scientist B. I worked there in the biochemical engineering department. I was working, trying to settle, but I could not settle. Probably, that place was not for me. And I then met Professor M.M. Sharma. And I told him, sir, I would like to come back to ICT. He said, I've been telling you to come back to ICT and you have been delaying it. I said, you come anytime. So I came back to ICT and I then did my PhD. My PhD was a little late. I started at the age of 28 or 29. I finished it by about 34. And then I was also a faculty at that time as a lecturer. And then eventually I decided to continue as a faculty for a simple reason is that people like me who come from the different background must also have a professor who can understand it. All right. So that's the only reason I remain in the academics. There is no other reason for remaining in the academics. And I proved to myself and to the institute that number of peoples who are not in the first top 10 and many of them working with me who are basically 50% and below, you can call them, I think they are more successful in the top 10 people.
That is extremely motivating, sir. Your life story is really inspiring for all of us. The next question is, being the director of IOC ICT Bhubaneswar campus, you must be faced with so many responsibilities and competing demands during your research work. We're really inquisitive to know, how do you determine your priorities?
It's very simple. Uh, Now you are as successful as your team members are. You are as weak as your weakest team member.
Correct.
In chemical reaction engineering, there is a term called rate determining step. If the if the product is manufactured in a certain way, there is a reaction mechanism which consists of multi-stage process, multi-step process. Some processes are fast enough, some processes are slow enough, slow process. And there's a slowest process which basically determines the overall rate of reaction. I'll give another example. It's a very favorite example which I keep on giving in the class which I teach to, I taught in about the last 20 years in ICT. The perspectives of science, the perspectives of society, science, and technology. That class I used to give them an example. Because my brother was a national champion in. My family is a sports family. He was a champion in 4 into 400 meters relay, and he ran along with P.T. Usha and Shiny Abraham and Vandana Shanbag, Vandana Rao, and Valsamma. Those very famous the ladies of Indian quartet, 1982 Asiad, 1984 Olympics. P.T. Usha missed the bronze medal by whisker. In the relay, the relay is won not by who is the fastest person in that relay. The relay is the one who is the weakest person in that. Is lost who is the weakest person in that relay. So in the entire value chain, in the entire history of institute, or in the entire the team that you work with, if you have some weak points, weak people, you have to take care of them. There is nobody like a weak. It's just that they understand the problem in a different way. You have to have the different ways of getting the work done from them. And everybody has a different capability. Some people have different abilities. We call some handicapped people as the special abilities people with special abilities. So I always believe that you'll have to take the best out of. If you want to take best out of somebody, you have to understand that person. And when I came to Bhubaneswar, I said, first, this is an opportunity for me to showcase my leadership skills and qualities by building the team, by having the people who are better than me. So a leader is known by a team where the team members are better than the leader himself in terms of the work, in terms of the understanding of the work. Leader has different qualities. I have a different qualities which are leadership qualities. But eventually, the team which I am gathering, I'm making sure that they're better than me and work more efficiently, diligently also.
So we love the examples and analogies that you gave to explain this to us. Sir, you hold a very respectful position in this industry, being a part of the editorial advisory board, Drying Technology, the Asia Pacific Drying Conference. Please tell us your experience in developing programs and partnerships with external institutes and chemical engineering organizations, and how would you apply that experience to your research now?
Right. It's a very good question. In fact, there is no straightforward answer, but there is an answer which probably you will hear it for the first time, that somebody is giving an answer which is an obscure, out of the world an answer. I have been traveling all over the world. I'm a very frequent traveler. Alone Germany itself, I must have spent about 50 visits, usually about a couple of visits every year for the last 25 years. And I'm a researcher, but not the typical who reads the books and comes out with an idea. I'm a researcher who sees something and then it's a top-down idea. So there are people who will sit on the bench, start solving the equations and build up their model. Okay, and then they validate the model. In my case, is different. I go up the top, so my top to bottom approach, not the bottom to top approach. why they are number one in today in chemical engineering and technology. It's not America who is number one. The entire plant and machinery goes from Germany to America. America is good in innovations, but building the plants, building the facilities is German. If you want to rely on the machines, it's the German machines. So the reason why they are so nice is because of the precision and perfection. Those two words, which I say that are the enduring words in the chemical engineering or any other manufacturing facility. India is lagging behind manufacturing. Once you look at the problem which is close to your heart, the rest of the things follows. So, for example, the establishments of World Forum for Crystallization, Filtration, and Drying, which was established in 2006. A similar German forum wanted to buy this forum. They offered me about 6 crore rupees that time. I said, I'm not going to sell because this is ICT. I started in ICT, and the purpose of this is to have the networking across the globe, and and we can see the entire pharma industry in India, where the crystallization, the polymorphs, the new drugs, the generic drug, the so many things where crystallization is required. We have developed quite a good number of expertise in India. At least, may not be directly through ICT, but certainly by generating the interest in the subjects and learning continuously. They are networking with everybody who is expert in the world. I'm not saying that I am the expert in the crystallization, but certainly someday I did contribution in the area of drying technology.
Those are some really interesting facts, sir, that we learned today from you. Being from an agricultural background, what impact did it have on your research and what was the thought process instilled in you?
Well, like what I said, the empathy. All right, that you because I was taught by my mother, who probably would have got a Nobel Prize for the way she worked the economy, because she was handling 100 families in my village, and she hardly had any time for us. But we were proud the way she was doing the work. She was doing microfinance, microeconomics.
Such a talented family.
She knew the mathematics on the tip of her finger. She used to do calculations like our Shakuntala Devi. Okay, and she used to. She will tell you, after let's say this date will come after So she could do immediately those calculations of date calculations, easily multiplication, divisions. So it's not a problem for her. But the best part of her was she taught us the economics right at the young age. And the person who got the Nobel Prize in Bangladesh, Mr. Mohammed, I think my mother, if she should have contested, she would have got the same prize, because she did exactly the same work, but at the smaller level. And he took it to the Grameen Bank for the microfinancing, and he won the Nobel Prize. So, in a way, I come from a family which is extraordinary in terms of the culture and thought process.
Definitely, sir. So we've read that you're currently on the journey to contribute to making of the Greenfield project, which is an institute carved out of legacy of some of the giants of Indian chemical industry. Could you please tell us more about the overall importance of this project and how do you see this work impacting the field?
Oh, fantastic. After I was brought up by my mother, UDCT has been my second mother. Okay. So I was so lucky that, when you look at the legacy of ICT, look at the people that laid ICT. We were lucky that we could see them in flesh and blood and work with them. Like when I came to Mumbai, I had a fascination for Bollywood. I wanted to meet Hema Malini, Rekha, and I met them also, by the way. That's a different story. But when I came to UDCT, we worked in UDCT with professors like giant personalities who had a vision, who could see something beyond the horizon. Watching them, working them, inspired us to do something similar. So you saw somebody like Professor M.M. Sharma, doyen In fact, he is the Maharshi in Chemical Engineering Institute, Chemical Engineering Education, Chemical Industries, and probably he is one of the most charismatic person, as far as chemical engineering is concerned in India. Very courageous person, full of conviction, full of courage, and so we learn watching him doing the work, meticulously planning, taking the institute to the great height. And what ICT was in the 1960s and what it is today, it is probably because of these leaders. It starts with K. Venkatraman, which we haven't I haven't seen him, but we have read about him. We have seen in Flesh and Blood Professor M.M. Sharma. We have seen in Flesh and Blood Professor J.B. Joshi. He was my PhD guide also, by the way. Then we had Professor G.D. Yadav, Ganapati Dadasaheb Yadav, another giant personalities. So all these Padma awards, one is Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, other is Padma Bhushan, the third is Padma Shri. They're iconic personalities. They build the institute. We learn how they build the institute. I said, it's my turn now to do the same thing. And then I came to Odisha, the Greenfield projects, building an institute out of nothing, from ground zero, and establishing an ICT on the east coast of India. We have ICT on the west coast. I said ICT deserves to be in the east coast. Bhubaneswar deserves the work culture of the Mumbai. And I always, when I came here, when I had a number of meetings with chief ministers and other secretaries, I told them only one thing. I said the Bhubaneswar, Kolkata, east part of India is the elixir of art and culture. Is an elixir of art of culture. I said what it lacks is the infusion of chemistry, a freshness of chemistry in this culture, which is otherwise very rich in heritage. So Odisha is one of the richest state in terms of the heritage, but in terms of economy is one of the poorest state. And I know what it means by poor. It's a state of the mind. You have gold mines here and you call it, you still the poorest. That means you do not know how to make use of your resources. And that is basically the chemical engineer. As a chemical engineer, I'm leader. I'm going to take them and teach them, and by examples, and train the students, and establish an institute. And I'm going to challenge ICT Mumbai. Say that after 10-15 years, see which will be the main center, whether ICT Bhubaneswar will be main center or ICT Mumbai will be main center. So I jokingly tell them that probably the ICT will be run from Bhubaneswar center. So ICT Matunga will be the sub-center of ICT Bhubaneswar center. This is jokingly only, nothing else. But that tells you that I'm in the business of making an institute.
That is so encouraging, sir. It's so great to see the dreams you have still in you. It's very encouraging. So, what do you see as the most important issues or challenges in your research area within the next few years? And which areas would you like to explore during the next couple of years?
Explore your mind. Look at your cognitive abilities. A psychology subject which has not been taught to any of us. And that is something which I'm going to bring about, the change. The subject which I'm going to work, particularly myself, I'm going to bring about the artificial intelligence and machine learning in chemical engineering. We already started that. With a thumping success, we are ahead of ICT Matunga, by the way, in some aspects. Like what I told you, in 10 years it will be different. So the infusion of this particular subject has enthused number of people, number of students, and soon you will see some research paper appearing in some of the top journals in India and abroad on the use of artificial intelligence, use of data analytics.
Definitely.
But nothing is going to replace the conventional. Conventional chemical engineering is going to remain the way it is. Manufacturing, the equipment design, process design, oil manufacturing, and everything is going to remain the same thing. It is not going to change. Artificial intelligence is going to add value.
So I think it's a very important takeaway that it's not going to replace chemical engineering, but it's going to aid it to get better and we can make so many more advancements in the field with artificial intelligence. Sir,
We
we are
have
an
we
absolute
have
awe.
we have something, I
Yes.
can tell you, because I crunch the numbers. I eat numbers.
Yeah.
I play with the numbers, and these are the numbers which will tell you what it is. The Indian economy is about, before this pandemic, is about $2.5 trillion. Now, $2.5 trillion, $1 trillion is $1,000 billion. $1 billion is about today's rate, 7,300 uh, crore rupees. All right. So if you look at the overall, where does it we stand? Because as a young kids, as a young students, you will not know what is this 2.7, $2.6 trillion rupees. But when you compare with the rest of the things, you will know where you are, where India stands for. The world economy is $80 trillion, and India's economy is $2.5 trillion. So you can just see we are about 3% of the world's economy. We are 15% population. World's population 16%, 15, 16%. And we must have at least 15% contribution to the world. Whether it's the climate, maintaining clean climate. One of the area that which I am very passionate about is to develop sustainable technologies. Now, let me tell you, people think that sustainable technologies are something which is, which is just a very wonderful word to say. But sustainable technologies are the mantra which I learned from ICT itself. ICT is going to have the center on sustainable technologies. The only difference is that it will not be named as sustainable technologies. It will be named as MSM, Center of Excellence. You know what is that? ICT is going to have that center in the DA building. That stands for more from less for more. More from less for more. So getting more from the resources, less resources, for more number of peoples, that is basically the sustainability. The other definition of sustainability is that you leave this world, the next generation, the better state. That is basically sustainable. So you do all kind of activities. Whether it's a farming, farm-related innovation, whether it's a primary farm activity, secondary farm activity, which India doesn't do it. One of the reasons why we are behind is that we do not have the primary and secondary farm activities, which is basically has never been thought about. So probably I would be the first chemical engineer where in India, which talks about the inclusive growth for small farm holding peoples. They can also add to the economy through some local processing. And those equipments which we develop, and eventually that were some of the breakthrough technologies well recognized by Bill and Melinda Gates, well recognized by the Dell Foundation in Texas, Austin, well recognized by the Vasvik Award. So, I mean, you just have to figure it out. Like what I said, find out the problem. The moment you define the problem very well, your courage of conviction, you'll get a solution, and you'll be innovative in every aspects. This is all I learned in ICT Mumbai. And that package I have brought in the Odisha. And I'm going to represent that culture in the state of Odisha.
Looking forward to that, sir. Sir, elaborating on this, we are in awe of how most of your work focuses on harnessing technology to tackle India-centric problems. In one of your interviews, it also stated that food and pharmaceutical sectors are the ones that need to be strengthened if we want to see real progress of India on the technology front. What are the problems you want to address, and what gives you a competitive edge in this area?
Well, fantastic. Good question. The whole world looks at India as the pharma hub. The whole world looks at India as the hub of generic drugs. Because our people had mastered the art of copying the drugs. Now, copying not literally sense. When particular drugs goes off patent, that molecule is available for synthesis by a new route. All right. The product is not patentable. You can have the different process. So Indians, chemists, chemical engineers were geared up to develop a different process. And eventually it led to the development of so many generic products at cost which is 1/10, 1/20th of the cost which otherwise the big companies like Eli Lilly or Pfizer or Sanofi Aventis or Johnson Johnson, they used to sell it. They could afford to spend about $1 billion because one new drug takes up what $1 or $2 billion to invest. India cannot afford that. But now the tide is changing. From the generic drugs, India is going to become a champion in new drug molecules. Look what is happening on the vaccines. Vaccine is India supplies 60% of the world's vaccine from India. The world sees that. So we are actually, very better in terms of intellectual property rights also. We need to have the culture. We lack leaders. And I repeat what one of my gurus said, that as an individual, we are very good Shehnai players, Basuri players. But when it comes to teamwork, we are stuck in the microcosm. We are stuck in the philosophy of what is called as the million mutiny. This is something which you will not like the world. In India, there's something called the millions of mutiny taking place at every nook and corner of the city. There's a protest, there is this, there's that, people are divided based on these, whatnot, everything. But they're not united. So for teamwork to come, there has to be unison in the thought process. That young generation can bring about. People like you can bring about that change. And that's the reason why I always wanted to be with the young people. And I'm not a basically hardcore teacher, but I certainly am very young at heart, and I can motivate the young people like you to take up the bigger challenges. And I have basically industrial mindset. So with that was basically a reason why I came to an academics. To nurture the brain, to nurture the kids, the next generation leaders.
We want to be nurtured by you, sir, definitely.
Come and join ICT the Bhubaneswar. We already have floated 4 or 5 entrepreneurs now. There is an ice cream making. The one company will come up eventually, which will give a tough battle to naturals in Mumbai. Then there are various other food products are there. Then there's the water filtration issues are there. Iron is a big problem here. Iron and arsenic. We came up with a very beautiful technologies, and we all want to because when I give a talk or two to the people here, I dramatize it a little bit. You know how I dramatize it? I'll give an example, which will basically it catches the attention of the people. I tell them that because you have to speak a different language to the bureaucrats, people who run the country, IS officers and the ministers now. So I tell Minister Ji, Secretary Ji, the quality of the life is determined by the quality of water that you drink or your people in the state drink. If the population drinks the water which is fit for perfect consumption, low in iron, low in coliform, low in bacterial load, low in TDS, BOD, COD, as pure as, you will not have diseases, you will not have dropouts in the schools, you will not have many other issues, and so on and so forth. So I have a lot of other interesting examples to strengthen the primary and secondary education systems. In fact, India doesn't need IITs. If you provide a good primary and secondary education, people like you and me can build IIT in no time. Do you know that? And it's highly expensive. It's highly expensive to establish an institute like IIT whose return on investment is more than 25, 30 years. Probably more than that. I do not know about that.
So we would love to be taught a course by you. We're really looking forward if you could come to ICT Mumbai and teach us all.
I teach normally these days the entrepreneurship development.
Wow.
I teach them the
Interesting subject.
a combination of sociology and engineering, which is basically perspectives of society, science, and technology. And I also teach chemical engineering operations, so like distillation, crystallization, filtration, milling, granulation, drying, and all those things. That is one subject which I kept, technical subject which I keep on teaching. Yeah, that's it.
Sir, after reading your knowledgeable interviews, we learned that you've made various suggestions for collaborative approaches to make common effluent treatment plants functional. Could you please elaborate on your mission and vision behind this research work?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I work with the government of Maharashtra, various committees. I was a part of uh, the environmental committees for the approval of the new projects for the expansion of chemical industries. Uh, what you asked specifically is about the CETPs, Central Effluent Treatment
Yes.
Facility Plant,
Yes.
Central Effluent Treatment Plant. Central Effluent Treatment Plant is like a toilet of your house. Okay, toilet, or if you can maintain the waste, if you can control the waste that is emanating from your company, and if you know what is your waste, and if you know that you are putting into the waste garbage, garbage in is going to be garbage out somewhere. You throw it here, it will come out in the form of plastic bags in the sea. It will go to the fish stomach and it will come back to you. All right. So that's the circular process. Okay. So the best thing is to have the processes which will not create pollution. Sustainable technologies. Again, coming back to the same thing. So you develop technologies, you be a part of the process, which are green processes, which are not dirty processes. There was a time when chemical engineering came into fore. There were processes which were batch processes, producing a lot of effluent per kg of products, probably 50 times, 100 times more than the per kg of products. So 1 kg desired product, 100 kg undesired product. That's not the good material balance for any chemical industries. So as a part of that member, the environmental, we were trying to motivate the people to do a little bit research in the existing processes and then come out with a better technology. And India lacks technology, so it's basically a vicious cycle. We do not have technologies. Technology, imported technology cost us. There's hardly any other institute other than ICT which can help these industries. Even IIT doesn't help them. So ICT is the only institute in India which has a very close connection with the industries. And how many industries they can cater to? So we need more and more ICTs. We need more and more cultured places like ICTs, and that's the reason why we are there in Odisha also.
Sir, where do you think the field of chemical engineering is headed in the next 5 years? And how does that relate to the preparation of professional educators? Tell us about your vision in this field.
I didn't get in what direction it is headed towards, right?
Yes, sir, the field of chemical engineering.
The chemical engineering is one such branch which is always evolving. Unlike civil, mechanical, metallurgical, and electrical, it is ever evolving. In fact, I would say every 5 years, if you are not in touch with chemical engineering practice for 5 years, you are out of the business. You can't enter into chemical industry again because everything has changed by that time. So it is a very dynamic industry, very dynamic industry. All right. So you have to be on toes, and what separates chemical engineering from the rest is those two subjects: the chemical engineering thermodynamics and rate processes. That is chemical reaction rates, transport phenomena rates. That is the mass transfer rates, the heat transfer rates, the momentum transfer rates, and the limit to which you can carry out certain things. That is thermodynamic limits, the thermodynamic equilibrium. Okay, these two aspects separates the chemical engineering from the rest of the. Otherwise, in Germany, chemical engineering is still today is a marriage between mechanical engineering and the industrial chemistry. It's only the America who started the chemical engineering as a single entity course. But the German went on till 1960s, 1970s without chemical engineering being a core subject. But they saw to it that in spite of the Haber-Bosch making the discovery of ammonia, uh, that they consider chemical engineering as the perfect blend of industrial chemistry and mechanical engineering.
Sir, you have won innumerable awards like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Award, Dell Social Innovation Award, Vasvik Award. In fact, when I was reading about it, I was in complete admiration of you. I was like one person winning so many awards. So I'm also personally inquisitive to know what do you consider to be one of your greatest achievements? And what difference do you want to make through your professional work over the next 5 to 10 years?
I get elated when some of my students do very well. All these awards, what you are talking, saying, they're basically they look like that as if I have won. But in fact, in reality, it is the students' work. So student work, and the credit goes to the guide. So normally I don't take the credit, but it is if you look at the way uh, any of this thing, you will find that these awards are shared with the students. So in fact, these awards belong to the students. But let me tell you an interesting story. All these awards which got a lot of cash prize, the entire cash prize was handed over to the student, and not a single rupee was with me. Whether it is 1 lakh US dollars, or whether it is 1 million US dollars, or whether it is number of times of 1 million US dollars, a number of times of $100,000. Uh, all of them, I made it sure that the money is used for the reason why it has come to me. So the students were trained to even spend those money very judiciously, and that's the mine was the final word, because they know that there is a man sitting there to check if you are doing the right thing or not. Normally, they would do the right thing. Exceptionally, just 1%. That is always going to be there. But this is all. I told it's a mind game. The young people, you train them very well. They become the big shots. They become the employer. And you show them a big dream. I said, why you want $100,000? That's the peanuts. If you look at that, it's a small money on one side. For some other person, it's a big money. So it's you have to show them a bigger dreams also. When you show them bigger dreams, so that 1 lakh eventually gets converted into 100 lakhs. That's exactly what has happened over the period of time. So these accolades, these awards keeps on coming, and you really don't worry about that. And I really don't. They're always good. Awards are always good. They make you happy, but that's not the final destination.
That is so generous of you, sir. Sir, what has been the most challenging time during your career and how did you overcome this challenge?
Yeah, it's always a fight with me. The biggest competitor that I have is within me. I have several limitations, so just overcoming those limitations, fighting with yourself, fighting with there's always the scope for improvement, because we as a human being, we don't use the brain as much as it's supposed to process it. So it is our limitations that we're not able to use ourselves. So you push the limits every time. So I think that's so you are fighting with yourself. Nothing else. There's no competition. There's no competition for you. I don't compete with anyone. I think that should be the motto. And I never feel jealous about anyone. And also I don't feel the envious of anyone. Absolutely no. And in fact, I never I treat everybody equal. And also, when somebody doesn't treat everybody equal, then he has a peace of mind from me, definitely. So I am basically an egalitarian institute. I believe in equal opportunities. I believe in there is a merit in everyone. and that merit needs to be nurtured. If you look at the cricket team, if all 11 players are like Virat Kohli, India will never win. You need to have somebody like Ashwin. You need to have somebody like Ravindra Jadeja. You need to have somebody, who is like Yajuvendra Chahal. You need to have somebody like, the doggy fellow, like, what is that? The one down batsman, the Pujara, Tejeshwar Pujara. You got my point. So no person as an individual is a supreme person on this earth. I'm sorry to say that. And if somebody think that he is the great based on certain aspects, certain criteria, then I don't think that's right. So that's the false philosophy. That's the false pride that he's living or she's living into. There's always somebody better than you. That's all, nothing else.
Such a positive attitude, sir.
You're one among the equals. That's nothing else.
Definitely.
You're one among the equals. The only thing that few people get the opportunities, few people doesn't get the opportunities. So as a teacher, my job is to provide the opportunities to those people who doesn't get the opportunities.
That is such an success mantra, sir. We should all learn from this.
Yeah.
So humble. Sir, you have some noteworthy papers published in international and national journals. Can you please tell us more about it and share some tips with us on writing successful research articles?
Yeah. That is again the gift of ICT. Because when I was doing PhD, I learned the writing review papers. I learned the writing of papers. And I remember one day, my PhD supervisor, Professor J.B. Joshi, who is one of the tallest person ICT has produced. He once said, I wrote an article and I gave him the article for checking, and he said something which is which really inspired me a lot. He said, your writing skills are much ahead of the most of my other people's. So, and he didn't know probably that I hardly had any education till 10th. So my education started in 11th because I met some good friends and they made me. I used to study in their home and so on and so forth. And eventually, when I came to Mumbai, I started reading and writing. So I'm a very avid reader of literature. I must have read about at least 40,000-50,000 books, biographies, and stories. And I've written one of them, my own story, my mother's journey. Also, I written a book on that, which was published by Granthali publication. So in terms of reading and writing skills, I developed over the period of time. I taught to my students also. Same legacy I followed, which I learned in ICT. And I think that's again that quality was nurtured in ICT, the writing and reading and writing and scholarly writing. So the present Vice Chancellor is also fantastic in writing and scholarly writing, Professor Anirudh Pandit. So we are all very fortunate that Professor G.D. Yadav earlier, he is also a poet, right? So those are the skills which you nurture in academic institute because there is a freedom for you to explore yourself. That's the best part of academic institute, that you can explore yourself.
Sir, if you had the power to effect one major change in the education of we students, what would that be and how would you go about effecting that change?
Well, I will adopt the Finland model. The Finland education model is there is no school in the classroom. There is a school in the playground. As simple as that. You build the strength of the people, students. You don't give them rote learning. That's the last thing. That's the last thing you should do it. I never had a rote learning. In fact, I can give an example of the rote learning through my kids. I told my sons that, see, look, 11th and 12th standards, the college is useless in India, in Bombay also, because you don't go to college, you only go to the tuition classes. Am I right?
Right, sir.
Even
Absolutely.
today, even today. So what was there during my time, nothing has changed.
Yeah.
So I told them that do whatever possible at home and then learn on your own. Then you go and ask the teachers. You learn, you prepare the questions, go and ask the teachers in the college, because they are paid to teach you. They are not teaching. That's a different thing. You go and ask them the question. Then no, sir, Papa, my all classmates are going to this Nadkarni wing circle and whatnot. I said, no, I'm not stopping you. You go there if you want. I know it is going to cost me. I said, you take this money and you enroll it. I said, they enroll for what? They enroll for physics, chemistry, and mathematics. And the other three subjects, French, economics, and English. They did not enroll for tuition. I said, why you did not enroll for tuitions? Because they were not important. I said, who said they are not important? No, nobody is attending that. Somebody is attending some French tuitions. Acha? Eventually, these kids used to go regularly to the tuition. They used to come tired, my own sons. But the French, economics, and the English, I was discussing on the table, on the dining table. Because the economics is good at me, and science also I'm good at it. So we were discussing this. So they developed the interest. They started learning, self-learning. When the 12th mark came, they got 90 in English. They got 95 in economics. They got the other subject, economics, English, and French. They all 90% marks. And in physics, chemistry, maths, in which tuition was there? 65, 70, 65. I said, now you decide where you want to go. You should go to humanities, because engineering is useless for you, because instead of the tuition you got the less marks. No, so all our kids, all our friends are going for engineering. I said, Diki, you go. Either you want to go to USA, and USA is going to be costly. But eventually, what I'm trying to tell you is that they went to USA, they did engineering, but they did not pursue further job in engineering. They went into non-engineering. They went into humanities. They went into psychology and other things. So look at this. They have literally wasted. So this has to change in India. If I have to change something which is already coming in NEP, new education policies, where we will not, but still there will be people who will belong to the tuition culture, because there's a hand blow in there is a nexus between these tuition mafia and the government. So that has to be broken, and then there has to be the Finland model which has to be adopted, where you can take any subject, and you can, as per your interest, as per your whatever the culture you have brought into it. So I would change the complete. We don't need that many engineers. We definitely don't need 7 lakh engineers, where USA produces about 1 lakh engineers. They're all useless, except ICT and then the IHM. So you have a good future. Nobody can compete with you, at least in that aspect.
Definitely. So, again, a very important point I think you've put across today. So, do you have any advice for our readers and students for a better future?
Well, explore the world, explore your subjects, go to the library, do teamwork, pick up one small problems, go to the industry. I have myself visited more than 1,000 industries. So you go to industries, the first person that they would know from ICT is Professor Thorat, because I literally met everyone from almost every industry in Maharashtra, and I love traveling there. I love going there, learning something new from them. So a lot of oil industries, Giant oil mills, Godrej oil mills, and the number of I visited them, number of polymers manufacturing units. I have gone there. Number of paint units, Nerolac, Asian Paints, Bombay Paints. I have visited them, and it's always been a learning process for me. And you guys must learn, and look at the professors that you have. I'm sure you must get influenced by one or two who are there at the best, and learn from them. Ask the questions, and don't leave them till you are satisfied, till your curiosity is at rest. So you challenge your teachers first, okay? And if you fail in challenging them, then you come to me. I will teach you how to challenge them, and also give you different challenges also.
Sure, sir. Sir, you are an inspiration for young minds like us, and your wise words have definitely motivated us. In fact, I don't know how the time passed. It was so much fun and such a good learning experience talking to you, and I'm so glad I got this opportunity. We all, in fact, idolize you, and this addressing interview will definitely enlighten all the students and the readers in the journal. Thank you so much once again, and we look forward to interacting with you again in the future.
Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Bombay Technologies, uh, for this interview, and I also thank uh, my young friend, Dr. Anand Kapdi, who was at ICT-IOC Bhubaneswar for about a year or so. He was my deputy, and we spent a nice time here, and I see good leadership quality in that fellow. He's a fantastic leader by himself, and I'm sure that ICT's future is in the safe hands, because I see a number of young leaders there. So I'm quite happy that the legacy will continue in ICT. Great teachers will produce, great leaders will produce for the country. Thank you.